So, parenting tip number 69 has to do with teaching your kids how to make choices. We make choices every single day, thousands of choices, right? Well, currently, I am working with a coach, a clarity coach. Her name is Rachel Smets, Smets. She is a TED Talk speaker, she is a global Goodwill ambassador, and she's a clarity coach who teaches her clients how to create freedom in their lives. And one of her talks really affected me. And I thought, I think it's worth doing a parenting tip on it. And it's how to teach your children to make choices without regret and how not to stress over choices. We can make simple choices that sometimes are hard, like what am I going to wear today? What am I going to eat at a restaurant? Right? And then the harder choices that high school seniors have to decide, what am I going to write my college app essay on? What major am I going to choose? What college am I going to choose? And then the tougher questions, should I marry this person? Or if you're in a relationship, should I break up with this person? Should I quit my job? Which job should I take? So, when we have stress over indecision, it's important to teach your kids the power of choice making. Like, what is the power of choice making? Well, number one is really go within and take the time. And I know it sounds so trite, but take the time to write down. Rachel says to write down physically the pros of this decision. If I go to this college, I might, save money. They don't have my major, but I'll be able to afford it. And then if I do this college, it's closer to home. Um, and I will not have to commute because I can live at home. And then, the more choices you have, the more complex the decision making is. So she suggests to ask maybe like two or three friends, not too many, because the more people you ask, the more different opinions you'll get. Have you ever been in a crossroads whether should I break up with this person or should I get a divorce? And then you have more and more different opinions, and then you don't even know what to do because it causes even more stress. So, even as a young child, teach young children, make a decision and don't regret it. Because this is what often happens, right? You make a big decision, like purchasing a car. Have you ever done this? You purchase a car, you're really happy, and then the next morning you wake up and you say, did I make the right choice? Should I should I have purchased that car? Maybe I should have waited. I could have got a better deal. Maybe there was a better, you know, a better APR. Maybe I should just waited. And that's when we live a life of regret, which compounds the stress, which makes us question whether our decision was right. And so I remember when Chelsea was little, I would say, what do you want to do? Do you want to go to the movies or go to the beach? And she would just have such a hard time deciding. And then she would look at me and say, I don't know which one. I want to do both. And she would end up crying because deciding on whether to go to the beach or the movies was just so stressful. Why? Because she did not want to make the wrong decision. She would say, well, if I go to the beach, then what if I don't have a good time and I regret it and I wish I would have, maybe I'll wish that I had chosen, the other destination or maybe a total different one that wasn't even one of my choices. And that's when, I didn't know what to say. I was just like, you know what? You have two choices. And then when you get into that irritated phase, right? It's like, you know what? Forget it. We had no choices. We're not going to go to the movies or the beach. We're just staying home since you can't make up your mind, right? Which really ruins the entire weekend. And then everyone's in a bad mood. So now that I listen to Rachel and I just really, study what the brain goes through when we make a decision and how we can help our brain not stress out. So, number one, Do not live in regret. Once you make that decision, stick to it and just move on. Because whenever, have you ever done this? I wonder if I should have married someone else. I wonder if I should have not divorced my first husband. I'm sure my husband, Thomas, would not be very happy if I even thought that. But I never, ever allowed that thought to even enter my brain because I knew, sounds very fairy tale-ish, but I knew that as soon as I spent 6 months with Thomas, 6 months with someone who was just 23 years old and I was 31, I knew without a doubt that he was my Prince Charming. But I noticed that a lot of my friends do this. They regret whether it's a job. I should have taken that job. I should have bought that bag that was on sale. I should have, not divorced my first husband or my second husband. And when we live a life of regret, it really brings us down and causes depression, causes, frustration, and causes sometimes even the inability to even experience happiness because we're constantly living with regret. And the second tip is to really take the time to write down. Don't just think about it, but when you see it on paper, here are the pros, here are the cons. It might make it a little bit easier to decide. And the third tip that I'll add in, it sounds really silly, but she says to toss a coin. And I'm sure all of you are like, what? I remember when I heard that, I thought, you're going to toss a coin to decide whether you're going to marry someone? But her point was many times when you end up tossing a coin for a split second, you really hope, oh my gosh, I hope it's tails. That means your brain is telling you that you prefer one decision over the other, right? Think about it. That means your mind already knows. Maybe your soul really knows, but we let our head get in the way of what our soul wants. So that's parenting tip number 69, how to handle teaching the power of decision making and practice it. Practice it all the time, even with small decisions. Write it down. When I choose blue, I know that I'm going to feel a little better. But my new blouse is yellow. But I don't know if I'll be happy. Then choose the decision that makes you a little bit more happier than the other choice. Thank you for watching. Bye.